Silent signs of love, the unexpressed emotions. Have you ever had the feeling that someone has deep feelings for you, even though they have never found the courage to reveal them openly? Sometimes the most intense emotions act in a discreet, almost invisible way. Love, in these circumstances, is not always expressed in sensational declarations or dramatic gestures. It often prefers small signals, almost imperceptible nuances that, if observed carefully, reveal sincere affection. Carl Jung, a famous Swiss psychoanalyst and philosopher, spoke of the existence of deep dynamics that move the human psyche, including those related to feelings and attraction. According to Jung, the personal and collective unconscious interact silently, guiding our behaviors without realizing it. It is possible, therefore, that when we feel something strong for another person, our unconscious betrays that secret through gestures and reactions that escape rational control. In this text, we will explore 8 signs that could indicate that someone secretly loves you. Those who love secretly do not always do so because of a lack of trust or courage. Sometimes it is the fear of upsetting balances, of appearing vulnerable, or of not being reciprocated that pushes a person to hold back. Nonetheless, deep emotions always find a way to express themselves, even in the smallest details. If one or more of these 8 signs sound familiar to you, you could be in the midst of a silent but intense love. Number 1. Involuntary imitation. An early sign that Jung would have defined as an indication of unconscious attunement is involuntary imitation, or so-called mirroring. Imagine noticing that someone is repeating, without realizing it, your ways of speaking, your gestures, or even your style of dress. They might start using expressions that you have coined, or choose a certain type of music after knowing that it is your favorite. This behavior reflects a typical mechanism of the unconscious. We mirror ourselves in those to whom we are emotionally connected, almost as if we wanted to align our inner energies with theirs. Jung argued that individuation, or the path to self-realization, is strongly influenced by relationships with others. When an individual feels a strong closeness, it is as if he or she were trying to get closer also at the level of gestures and habits, even without consciously wanting to. Thus, someone who loves in secret could let their attraction show through this involuntary mirror effect. Number 2. The withdrawal at the moments when it should be approaching. Have you ever seen someone withdraw just when you expect them to show interest? For example, they disappear in the middle of an important conversation or suddenly become distant if someone pays you a compliment. This behavior, which may seem contradictory, often finds its explanation in defense mechanisms. Love, especially when it is intense, can be perceived as a risk. It reveals our vulnerabilities and exposes us to the possibility of rejection. From a Jungian perspective, the shadow, understood as the set of aspects of ourselves that we fear or repress, can emerge in these moments. The person who experiences strong but unexpressed feelings could back off in the grip of an internal conflict. On the one hand, they would like to get closer; on the other, they protect themselves, fearing to reveal too much. This is why they appear distant or even indifferent in the most delicate moments, almost as if it were an unconscious attempt to mask what they really feel. Number 3. The little affectionate pranks. Remember when, as children, we made fun of the people we liked? This strange paradox survives, in a more refined way, even in adulthood. If someone constantly tries to tease you in a playful way, without ever actually hurting you, it could be a way to establish a constant bond with you. Although these attitudes may seem childish, they have a precise function. They keep the other's attention alive, offering continuous contact, even if on the surface it appears as a small annoyance. In truth, those who love in secret are sometimes afraid to show themselves too openly, and these light jokes become an alternative channel to express interest. Irony or teasing remain, ultimately, a way of saying I care about you, I observe you, I want to interact with you. Number 4. The memory of details. A typical trait of hidden love is the ability to remember details that even you had forgotten. Maybe it is an anecdote told in passing or a dream you expressed some time ago. If you are surprised that someone brings to light such a specific element of your life, it could be a sign that every word you say to him or her is precious. Jung argued that the images and symbols that populate our minds have deep roots in the unconscious. When a person interests us emotionally, it is as if their stories activate a special resonance in us, leading us to memorize them more easily. If you notice that someone brings out exactly that story, that desire, or that nuance that you mentioned only once, it is likely that it occupies a special space in their inner world. Number 5. The furtive glances. The gaze is a very powerful channel, often more eloquent than any sentence. How many times do you feel the presence of someone who observes you without saying anything, especially when you believe you are not the center of attention? If, suddenly turning around, you meet for a moment an intense gaze, as if that individual was trying to capture a piece of your essence, you could be in front of a silent love that is expressed only through the eyes. Jung was convinced that the face and the gaze were the first channels of communication of the unconscious. Looking at the other with intensity means trying to understand him on a more subtle, empathic level, perhaps without even being aware of what you are doing. In that moment, the person tries to see beyond the surface, as if they wanted to explore your inner dimension. And no matter how much you try to hide it, a prolonged gaze almost always betrays a deep involvement. Number 6. Deep and attentive listening. Another sign of someone who has a hidden feeling is the attention with which they listen to you. In the age of constant distractions, few things are more valuable than authentic listening. If a person doesn't just hear your words, but seems to grasp their nuances, as if they wanted to resonate with your moods, you may be dealing with sincere affection. He who looks outside, dreams, he who looks inside, wakes up, said Jung. Listening deeply to a person means not stopping at the surface, but entering into that inner reality, exploring it with respect and participation. Maybe he asks you specific questions, remembers what you said previously, or notices a change in your tone. It is as if he puts himself in the background to focus totally on you. This level of empathy is not common and often manifests itself precisely when you care a lot about someone. Number 7. Change your behavior when you are present. Have you noticed that their demeanor suddenly changes when you enter a room? Perhaps this person, who is sociable and carefree with others, becomes more shy or calm in your company. Or, on the contrary, someone who is normally reserved might appear more open and bold when you are around. These changes in attitude reflect the attempt to adapt to your energies and to seek confirmation, even unconscious, of the bond. The body does not lie, it often betrays us with small signs of tension or euphoria. Carl Jung attached great importance to how psychic energy moves within us, influencing our external behavior. If you notice that, in your presence, this person becomes extremely attentive, perhaps stops joking with others, or, on the contrary, tries to stand out to arouse your interest, it is likely that you have a special place in his thoughts. Number 8. Thought in small gestures. Finally, the most authentic love often manifests itself in silent attentions, in those daily gestures that we might not even notice, but that reveal a deep-rooted affection. Maybe he makes you coffee without you asking, makes sure you've had a good night's sleep, or remembers to warn you if the weather is bad before he leaves the house. These small signs of care should not be underestimated, because they indicate that your well-being is a priority for that person. Even if they do not say the words "I like you" or "I love you," they are communicating the same thing through constant attention and respect for your needs. For Jung, love is a psychic energy that unites and heals, capable of bringing out the best in us. Those who nurture a deep feeling, even when they do not declare it, cannot help but demonstrate it concretely. Conclusions: the signs of a hidden love. We explored 8 indicators that could reveal a secret love. Of course, each signal taken individually is not a definitive proof. Human behaviors can have different motivations. Yet, when more than one of these aspects manifests itself simultaneously, you can suspect that there is a deeper feeling behind it. Many times, those who love in silence do so because they fear not being reciprocated, losing an important friendship, or facing radical changes in their life. Yet, love always finds a way to emerge, even in the smallest of gestures. As Jungian philosophy teaches, the psyche works in a complex way, intertwining the conscious and the unconscious, desires and fears, individual drives and collective conditioning. Precisely for this reason, an apparently banal gesture, a half-said word, a quick glance can have a much broader meaning than it seems. If you recognize some of these signs in the behavior of someone close to you, you may be at the center of a love that is budding in silence. In some cases, it may be useful to start a sincere communication to understand if your bond can mature into something explicit. In other cases, it is enough to leave the necessary time and space, respecting the rhythms of those who need to process their feelings before sharing them openly. And you, have you ever had the feeling that someone felt an intense but unexpressed affection for you? Have you recognized some of these signs in the past, or maybe you are noticing them right now in the present? Share your experience in the comments. You could help other people interpret those little clues that often escape. If you enjoyed this content and want to delve deeper into the themes of personal growth and spirituality, especially in light of Carl Jung's studies, which invite us to consider the depth of the unconscious in our relationships, I invite you to subscribe to the Soul Flame channel. You will find many useful insights to better understand yourself and others. And if you think the video could be useful to someone you know, share it. It could help a friend shed light on unexpressed feelings, to better understand the subtle game that love likes to hide behind gestures and glances. Remember, every time we listen to our inner voice and learn to recognize the presence of the other in small details, we take a step forward towards awareness and emotional maturity. And, as Jung taught us, the path of individuation is nothing but a journey towards harmony between the external and internal worlds, where love represents one of the deepest and most transformative energies. Experiencing it, even in its most secret aspects, is part of that long journey that leads us to the discovery of who we really are. We are all, in the end, fragments of light in search of a reflection that recognizes us, and that silent love could be the signal that we are never truly alone along the path.